Today, the US dollar dominates global finance. But it wasn't always this way. For centuries, powerful nations used different currencies for international trade. Empires rose, empires fell, and the world's preferred currency changed with them. The turning point came during the chaos of the Second World War. While much of Europe and Asia suffered enormous destruction, the United States emerged with a strong economy, expanding industries, and large gold reserves. The stage was set for a historic change, one that would reshape the global financial system for decades. Today, the US dollar dominates global finance. But it wasn't always this way. For centuries, powerful nations used different currencies for international trade. Empires rose, empires fell, and the world's preferred currency changed with them. The turning point came during the chaos of the Second World War. While much of Europe and Asia suffered enormous destruction, the United States emerged with a strong economy, expanding industries, and large gold reserves. The stage was set for a historic change, one that would reshape the global financial system for decades.
The year was 1944. World War II had not yet ended, but leaders from around the world were already planning for the future. Representatives from 44 nations gathered at a quiet hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. Their mission was simple. How could they rebuild the global economy and prevent another financial disaster like the Great Depression? The world needed a stable financial system, one that countries could trust. At that time, the United States held nearly two-thirds of the world's official gold reserves. Its economy was booming, its factories were producing goods for much of the world, and unlike many other countries, its infrastructure remained largely untouched by the war. That made America the strongest economic power of the era. The delegates reached a historic agreement. Most major currencies would be linked to the US dollar, and the U.S. government promised that foreign governments and central banks could exchange dollars for gold at a fixed rate of $35 per ounce. This gave the dollar something priceless: trust. Countries no longer had to carry large amounts of gold for international trade. Instead, they could hold U.S. dollars, confident that those dollars were backed by gold. Very quickly, the dollar became the foundation of global commerce. Governments began storing billions of dollars in their reserves. International businesses preferred using dollars for trade. Banks expanded their dollar holdings. The world had found a common financial language. That agreement transformed the US dollar from a national currency into the world's leading international currency. But history would soon take another unexpected turn. In the next chapter, the link between the dollar and gold would be broken forever. Yet surprisingly, the dollar would become even more powerful.
By the late 1960s, the global economy had changed dramatically. The United States was spending heavily on government programs and the Vietnam War. More and more US dollars were flowing around the world. But there was a problem. America didn't have enough gold to match every dollar in circulation. Foreign governments began exchanging their dollars for gold. America's gold reserves started shrinking. If this continued, the financial system could collapse. Then, on August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon made a historic announcement. The United States would no longer allow foreign governments to exchange dollars for gold. The dollar was no longer backed by gold. For many people, this seemed like the end of the dollar's dominance. If dollars couldn't be exchanged for gold, why would anyone still trust them? But something unexpected happened. Instead of collapsing, the dollar became even stronger. Why? Because trust in a currency isn't based only on gold. It also depends on the strength of the economy behind it. The United States remained the world's largest economy. Its businesses continued to innovate. Its financial markets attracted investors from every continent, and people believed that the U.S. government would continue to honor its financial obligations. Around the world, banks, investors, and governments kept using dollars because they were convenient, widely accepted, and relatively stable. As international trade expanded, the demand for dollars continued to grow. The dollar had changed. It was no longer a currency backed by gold. It had become a currency backed by confidence. Confidence in America's economy, its institutions, its financial markets, and its ability to remain a stable global leader. That confidence would soon receive another major boost, a resource every nation depends on: oil. And oil would help make.
Imagine if every country in the world needed one particular currency just to buy the energy that keeps their economies running. That's exactly what happened with the US dollar. In the early 1970s, after the dollar was no longer backed by gold, many experts feared that global demand for the dollar would decline. But history took another unexpected turn. Oil, the world's most important source of energy, became the dollar's greatest ally. In 1974, the United States reached an important agreement with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia agreed to sell its oil in US dollars. In return, the United States provided security cooperation and strengthened economic ties. Over time, many other major oil-exporting countries also priced their oil in US dollars. This created what became known as the petrodollar system. The impact was enormous. If Japan wanted to buy oil, it first needed US dollars. If India wanted to import crude oil, it needed US dollars. If Germany, Brazil, South Korea, or dozens of other countries wanted to purchase oil on international markets, they also needed dollars. This created constant global demand for the U.S. currency. Central banks around the world began holding large reserves of dollars. Businesses kept dollar accounts. International banks processed trillions of dollars in global transactions every year. Even countries that rarely traded directly with the United States often relied on the dollar for international business. The more the global economy grew, the more dollars were needed. This gave the United States a unique financial advantage. It could borrow money at relatively lower costs than many other countries. Its financial markets became the center of global investing. And during times of economic uncertainty, investors often rushed toward the US dollar instead of away from it. The dollar became more than America's currency. It became the world's financial safety net. But the dollar's strength isn't based on oil alone. There's another reason why people around the world continue to trust it: the size, innovation, and stability of the American economy itself. The dollar isn't powerful simply because of history or because of oil. Its greatest strength comes from something much larger: the American economy. The United States has one of the largest economies in the world. Every day, millions of businesses manufacture products, provide services, develop life-changing technologies, and trade with countries across the globe. Many of the world's biggest companies are headquartered in the United States. From technology and healthcare to finance, aerospace, and entertainment, American companies influence almost every part of the global economy. When international investors look for a safe place to invest, many choose the United States. They buy American stocks. They invest in American businesses, and they purchase U.S. government bonds. These bonds are often considered among the safest investments in the world because they are backed by the U.S. government. This constant flow of investment increases demand for the U.S. dollar. Another major advantage is America's financial markets. The United States has some of the deepest and most liquid financial markets on Earth. Every day, trillions of dollars move through American banks, stock exchanges, and investment funds. That means investors can buy or sell assets quickly and efficiently. This level of stability is difficult for most countries to match. The US dollar is also used in international trade far beyond America's borders. A company in Brazil might sell products to a company in South Korea, and the entire transaction could still be completed in US dollars. Why? Because businesses around the world know that the dollar is widely accepted, relatively stable, and easy to exchange. During global crises, this trust becomes even stronger. When financial markets become uncertain, investors often move their money into dollars instead of riskier currencies. This is known as a flight to safety. Whether it's a financial crisis, a global pandemic, or geopolitical uncertainty, the US dollar has often remained one of the world's preferred safe haven currencies. But no currency stays on top forever without challenges. In recent years, several countries have begun asking an important question. Can the world rely less on the US dollar?
For decades, the US dollar has been the world's dominant currency, but today, some countries are exploring ways to reduce their dependence on it. Why? Because relying too heavily on one currency can create risks. Economic sanctions, exchange rate fluctuations, and geopolitical tensions have encouraged some nations to seek alternatives. One possible challenger is the euro. Used by many European countries, it is one of the world's most important currencies. Another is China's yuan. As China's economy has grown, the Chinese government has worked to increase the yuan's role in international trade. Some countries have also started conducting trade using their own national currencies instead of the US dollar. Organizations like BRICS have discussed increasing trade in local currencies. To some people, this sounds like the beginning of the end for the dollar, but replacing the world's reserve currency is far more difficult than it appears. A global currency needs more than a large economy. It must be trusted, it must be stable, it must be accepted almost everywhere. Investors need confidence that they can move billions of dollars quickly without worrying about sudden restrictions or instability. The United States has spent decades building that trust. Its financial markets are among the largest and most liquid in the world. Its government bond market attracts investors from nearly every country. Its legal and financial systems are well established. These advantages cannot be recreated overnight. Even though the share of global reserves held in US dollars has gradually declined over time, the dollar remains the world's leading reserve currency. That doesn't mean its position is guaranteed forever. The global financial system continues to evolve. Digital payments, central bank digital currencies, and changing trade relationships could reshape international finance in the future. But for now, no single currency has matched the combination of trust, liquidity, and global acceptance that the US dollar enjoys. So what would happen if that ever changed? What if the dollar suddenly lost its dominant position? The effects would be felt not only in America, but across the entire world. Imagine waking up tomorrow and the world's confidence in the US dollar had suddenly disappeared. Banks, businesses, and governments around the globe begin moving away from the dollar. What would happen? The impact would be enormous. For the United States, borrowing money could become much more expensive. Higher borrowing costs could make it more difficult for the government to finance its spending. Interest rates on mortgages, car loans, and business loans could rise. For American families, imported goods such as electronics, clothing, and other products could become more expensive if the dollar weakened significantly. Inflation could increase, reducing the purchasing power of everyday consumers. But the effects wouldn't stop at America's borders. Many countries hold large amounts of US dollars in their foreign exchange reserves. If the dollar lost value rapidly, those reserves could also lose value. International trade could become more complicated. Businesses would need to adjust to new payment systems, new exchange rates, and possibly new reserve currencies. Global financial markets could experience significant uncertainty during the transition. However, It's important to understand that a change like this would almost certainly happen gradually, not overnight. The US dollar's position has been built over many decades. If another currency or a group of currencies eventually played a larger role, the transition would likely take years or even decades. Most economists believe that the future is more likely to be a world with several important international currencies rather than one where the dollar suddenly disappears from global finance. The dollar may become less dominant over time, but it is still expected to remain one of the world's most important currencies for the foreseeable future. Its future will depend on the strength of the U.S. economy, sound financial policies, innovation, and the confidence of people and governments around the world.
So, why is the US dollar the most powerful currency in the world? Is it because of gold? Not anymore. Is it because of oil? That certainly helped, but the real answer is much bigger than either of those. The dollar is powerful because over many decades it has earned the confidence of governments, businesses, investors, and financial institutions around the world. It became the foundation of international trade, the preferred currency for global investment, and the largest reserve currency held by central banks. Every day, trillions of dollars move across the global financial system. Companies use dollars to buy and sell goods. Countries hold dollars to help stabilize their economies. Investors purchase U.S. government bonds because they are widely viewed as reliable investments. No other currency today combines the same level of global acceptance, deep financial markets, liquidity, and long-established trust. That doesn't mean the dollar's position can never change. History has shown that no economic system lasts forever. New technologies, changing trade relationships, and the rise of other economies will continue to reshape the global financial landscape. The world may gradually become more financially diverse, but for now, the US dollar remains at the center of the global economy. Its story isn't just about money. It's a story of history, trade, innovation, trust, and the interconnected world we all live in. The next time you see a US dollar bill, remember, you're not just looking at a piece of paper. You're looking at one of the most influential financial tools ever created.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary and learned something new, please like this video, subscribe to USA Decoder, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the stories that shape America and the world. Until next time, stay curious.